There's a bookstore in the United States called Barnes and Noble. It's a chain, and I love going into Barnes and Noble and just looking at all sorts of books and things like that. But something I do without fail, because they're one of the few bookstore chains that have survived the digital age. Rest in peace, Borders. There's probably more that I can't think of right now. I remember when in Canada there was one called Indigo. I wonder if that's still around. But because Barnes and Noble's still around, they were able to keep up with the modern culture by also including other media forms like vinyl records. And funny how you have to keep up with modern stuff by selling older technology. But anyway, they have vinyl records, they have music, DVDs, and they also have board games. And among the board games, obviously, if you're a bookstore and you're selling board games, you're going to have chess. But Barnes & Noble has been stocking a version of Go in their shelves for the past few years. It's called the Heirloom Collection, and it's not a great board. I can tell. I haven't touched it. I haven't taken it out of the box. It's quite pricey. I think it was in like the $40, $50 range. But just by looking at the images on the back, they're just not great looking stones. And it's a Go board. The Go board's corners are rounded, right? That's like, why is it like that, right? So you can immediately tell it's not the greatest thing, but obviously it's great. I mean, I'm happy to see it every time I'm there, just to have that exposure to the public. And what I see is usually one in stock. It's just one of these Go boards in stock. I check for it every time I visit. Sometimes I don't see it in stock. But this past weekend, I went and I saw 2 Go boards in stock. So that made me happy. You're listening to Starpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board. Now, the image of Go, I think in general, is one of East Asian culture. When people think of Go, and a lot of the reason why people are attracted to Go is that connection to Asian culture, specifically ancient Asian culture, thinking like Edo period Japan and things like that. Playing Go in traditional garb, in temples and things like that. The way of the samurai. It's a really cool aesthetic to imagine that the discipline of a samurai lifestyle kind of corresponds to the Go player's lifestyle. You also have images of ceremonial tea and just Zen Buddhism and things like that. These kind of themes float around the game of Go, and rightly so. And it's a great image. I think it's cool. I think it's awesome. And if that's what appeals to you and that's why you're playing Go, then great. I think it's awesome. But if you look at our brother chess, it's not exactly the same thing. You don't think of chaturanga when you think of chess, the ancient form of chess that was originally invented in India. You don't think about ancient India. You think about the modern imagery of chess. You think about people like Garry Kasparov, Magnus Carlsen playing chess. You think about the Queen's Gambit, and the Cold War maybe is like one of the themes, like the Russia versus United States tension. It's very political and intellectual. You think about libraries and IQ, things like that. Maybe if you're in China or Korea or wherever, that's more what comes to mind. Because it's kind of like, now I haven't played Earthbound, but it is an old game, and I've heard that it's kind of a I lied. I did play like a very tiny bit of it, but I heard it's kind of like a I wouldn't say parody, but it's like based on American life. Like you just buy hot dogs and Ness has a yo-yo. I guess that's and he's wearing a baseball cap. He looks like just like a stereotypical American kid, I suppose. But it's supposed to be in a way like an escape for the Japanese audience, right? And I think that maybe Go is like that for some of us here in the West, where it's kind of exotic, right? But maybe if you're in Asia and you think about Go, you're not thinking about, all the Asian imagery that you think of, but you're just thinking of it as like you would normally think of chess in the West. It's just like a brainy activity and something that kids go to school to get tutored for, homework and things like that. And maybe that's the image over there. But in any case, I think that chess has escaped that ancient origin. Maybe that's not the best thing. Maybe I'm not saying that that's always going to be the positive thing, but it's different. So Go has that image, but I think there's another angle to this that isn't really talked about with Go. And I've been on a sci-fi kick recently. I told you guys that I've been watching Battlestar Galactica, excellent show. I've also been playing the heck out of Star Fox, the new one, because as a kid, I loved the N64 version, and I'm just very enamored with just a squad of fighter pilots in space just shooting stuff down and things like that. And you can tell I'm a sci-fi guy. I'm kind of into that imagery by the name of this show, Starpoint, and the theme and the kind of graphics that I use there about space. But Go actually kind of pairs well with it. Just for starters, it has star points and stars are in space. So I think that Go actually pairs quite well with the theme of sci-fi and has been actually present in a lot of sci-fi media. And I wanted to kind of go through some of those with you guys and try to paint a slightly different image of Go that we might already have in our brains, but it's just not the first thing that we think of. We don't really think of sci-fi when we think of Go right away. But I have a list of appearances of Go in sci-fi media here that I'll first get into, and then we'll go on to how Go relates to technology and the cosmos and what a new image of Go relating to a more science fiction angle might look like. So I've mentioned this one before, and a lot of these things I have not seen or experienced myself, but I have seen references just because I'm a Go fan. But Warframe is I presume I don't know anything about Warframe, to be honest. But I think it's a sci-fi video game, and in this sci-fi video game, there is Go. Like, you can actually play Go in this game. It's a little mini game, and I've mentioned this in some previous episode a while back. But there is like a little, like a lot of big games nowadays, you can go in and then there's something that you can find and play within that game. I think one of the Final Fantasy VII remake parts have like a card game that's really good. But you can actually play Go in Warframe, and the AI is actually quite terrible from what I've seen. But it should be, right? Because these people aren't going to be people who have any Go experience typically playing Warframe. And so I think that's cool. And it's in Warframe. That's awesome. Another one that I've remembered, and I actually seen this one, is Tron Legacy from 2010. It's very brief. And it's been so long that I don't remember the plot at all. I know, Tron is about being stuck in this like video game-esque like arcade machine or whatever. But the evil guy is teaching Olivia Wilde how to play Go or something. Or I don't know, like I don't even remember what Olivia Wilde's character was. But the board is shown for like 2 seconds. They talk about, oh, you always won or something like that. It's very brief, but it kind of fits, right? Because Tron has those motorcycle things with the lines coming from behind, and those lines I feel kind of match the Go aesthetic. And from what I recall in that movie, the board did not look like a traditional wooden board, but more like a Tronized board. Another show that I actually watched very briefly, and I think I watched it because of the Go that was in it, Altered Carbon. I couldn't get into it. I started the first episode. I watched long enough to see the Go in it. I think it was like a rollout mat, if I recall correctly. And the show is kind of like a cyberpunk thing, and I don't know anything about the plot. I apologize. But it is featured in that show. Speaking of cyberpunk aesthetic, Cyberpunk, the video game, Cyberpunk 2077, something that I have in my backlog to play. I apparently has Go somewhere in it as well. Who knows if I'll encounter it, because the game's supposed to be pretty big. But you see that Go is present in the world of sci-fi. And we have more here. Andromeda. I don't know about this show. I haven't heard or seen this show before, but I saw an image that maybe I'll share in the Discord once this episode is out, if I remember. Please remind me if you're curious. But Andromeda has 3D Go. And I saw an image of this, and it looks very similar to the 3D chess in Star Trek. It's like 4 layers of Go boards. They look like acrylic, if I'm being frank, like with the props. They just look like acrylic layers. Or it's three. It's three layers. That fourth one is just a reflection on the bottom. And there's a little bowl. It's interesting that the bowl has both black and white stones in it. It looks kind of blurry, and it looks like it's like tapioca. But it also looks like there's a third color. I don't know if I'm misreading this image, but it's interesting. But anyway, yeah, they're sharing a bowl of black and white stones, and it's 3. What? Let me count this here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 by 11 boards? 10 by 10? Hold on. I'm struggling here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 11 by 11 if I'm counting correctly. They're 3, and they're like blue acrylic with white lines, and they're kind of above one another. So you can, it sounds like a nightmare to play, right? Like to line up the Go stones and like be able to know where the liberties are, unless I'm misunderstanding the rules of 3D Go here. Maybe it's 3 simultaneous games that somehow affect each other in a different way. I just kind of took it at face value because I think 3D chess is literally just chess in 3D space. And 3D Go, I know that people have played through the power of technology 3D Go before. I've never tried it, and I assume that's what this is, but maybe it's not. Because if I look at this and I try to play 3D Go on this, it's not going to work out, because lining up the stones on each layer and knowing, because presumably 3D Go, a stone placed on the board that's not on the edges, or actually only in the middle layer would it have 6 liberties, right? And then on the top layer, it would have 1 fewer liberty because it doesn't have that next one up. And same for the bottom layer as well. That's what I assumed. Maybe it's not played that way in this world. Anyway, Andromeda. That show features 3D Go. And I told you that it is similar to, or I was reminded of Star Trek's 3D chess, almost to the point of it feeling like an homage to Star Trek. Speaking of Star Trek actually features Go as well. I'm not a Trekkie, though I'm open to becoming one. And so I started off in Star Wars. I was always a Star Wars guy. Loved lightsabers and all that stuff. But now giving Battlestar Galactica, oh man, that show is really, really giving Star Wars a run for its money, especially after the Disneyfication. Although Andor is an excellent show as well. So I feel like I got to try them all. After Battlestar Galactica, I got to go into Star Trek to see what that's about. And the philosophical nature of the show has always attracted me. But Star Trek actually features Go as well. There is an episode called, I think it's called Cogenitor, and it's around the 30-minute mark. There's an alien race with 3 sexes called Visians or something, I don't really know much about. I think there's, obviously some political, social themes going on in this world that parallels stuff that's going on in our world. But essentially, the human, I don't even know. I don't know about Star Trek, so I assume they're called humans, right? But the human-looking guy, he is teaching this alien-looking Visian how to play Go. In this episode called Cogenitor, I think it was around the 30-minute mark, and I was able to see the scene on, I think, Pluto TV where I'm at, because it's free, but with ads. And there was a scene of a Go game being played. He's like showing her like human culture. He's like showing her a Western movie, and she's never seen a movie before, and they're playing Go, and like they're talking about all sorts of things. And then you look at the board. I mean, the board, I glanced at it. I think it made sense in that, like, okay, there were territories being surrounded, and the black and white stones had their own territories and such. But it was pretty terrible. Like, it looked like a 20+ Q game. White was winning by, like, I don't know, 50 points or something like that, and white was played by the Visian. And the scene goes, the alien captures a single stone, and not even a single stone like in a key area or whatever, or it made life or anything. It was in a very thick white part of the board, like within white territory, captured a black stone. So you know, as you know, that's a nothing move, right? That doesn't do anything. But she captures that stone, and she says, "Does this mean I've won?" And there's this, and then it cuts to the human, and he has this moment of realization, like, oh man, I lost. And then he says, "No one's beaten me at this in the last 2 years." Like, impressed with the alien's thinking capability. But it's just funny to me because these directors and whatnot, they always need to have this kind of gotcha move, and you see it in a Beautiful Mind, right? You see the same thing in A Beautiful Mind, where I forget his name, but Russell Crowe's adversary plays this really dumb, like, capturing move, and he smiles and smirks like he played some genius move. And it's the same. It's kind of like the same thing. They always need that turn of events moment, like, oh, I didn't see that. It's difficult to show that in Go, not like chess where you capture something. But even in chess, it's a little silly for the most part, because I think what these people need to realize is, okay, the audience is not paying attention to the contents of the board, right? The audience isn't looking at the board and making sense. Ooh, what a great move. They're looking at the expressions and faces, which is why it doesn't really make sense on the board. But at the same time, so if they're not looking at the board, make it make sense, make it make sense. A Go player is usually not going to have that that turn of events move. Things are usually a little more gradual in Go, but it does happen. And the way it happens is somebody plays a move that implies like 6 variations, and they read it out, and then they realize, oh, that move shows that you understood the situation, and now I'm screwed because I realize I didn't consider that possibility. But it doesn't look on the surface like it does anything to the passerby who doesn't know about Go. But instead, if you are playing Go and you find some kind of crazy move that turns the whole game around, it's usually going to be a very like quiet looking move, and yet it implies a whole bunch of other moves that leads the other player to realize that they've lost the game. And so it's never going to be this like one little tiny capture or even a big capture, right? I guess that could happen, right? Lower skill level games, you miss a huge capture, you're not paying attention to your liberties. I can see that happening too. But man, when this guy said, no one's beaten me at this in the last 2 years, that's like, well, my guy, that's because everybody else is 30Q. Okay, and that was a funny thing to watch. A couple more I found. Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Now, I'm a huge Terminator fan, or at least a huge Terminator 2 fan. I love that movie, but I had no idea there was a TV show. Interesting. This one actually pays quite good respects to Go. I watched this scene. I'm going to try to link, because it was on YouTube. I'm going to link this one in the description for you guys to watch yourselves. But I don't really know the plot of what this episode was about, but they're mentioning Go, and they say it was made 5,000 years ago. I don't even know the time time setting of this show, so maybe it is 1,000 or two in the future. That would make sense. But they say they weave into the script. They don't show the Go board too much. She's just kind of playing with the stones. But they weave it into the script that she says strange things happen at the 1-2 point. And she says that it's a proverb and that the rules don't behave quite the same way there. And then the other character says, no, the rules are always the same. They always work the same way. It's just a set of rules. And that is such a deep thing about Go. And it actually shows quite a good understanding at this of the game. Because yes, actually in Go, the rules are the same. They are the same no matter where you are. But there are some weird things you just wouldn't expect to happen at the 1-2 point. They're just more emergent factors from the rules that just behave in strange ways. So I thought that was a great little reference to Go. One of the better ones that I've seen. Usually it's just this nonsensical board and then they just, talk over it, right? Almost like it doesn't really matter what game you put there, right? But in this scene, it's very much Go that matters, that this is here. And this kind of speaks to the theme of mathematics, that I want to touch on a little more later too. And finally, the last sci-fi example I have here is called Counterpart. This is starring J.K. Simmons. And I guess it's about the possibility of parallel dimensions. I don't really know too much. I tried to look a little bit into it. But there's a very good Go scene with J.K. Simmons. And from what I saw, the board was a good board. And they don't really touch too much on the Go part of it. But I'll link this scene in the description as well. So with that, as you can see, there are a lot of references to Go in sci-fi. And I think there are reasons for that. I don't think that that's just random. I don't think that they're like, oh, let's just find the most obscure game possible. I think there's actually a good link between Go and these sci-fi themes. Go is very much a technologist's game, right? You have this game that really attracts a certain group of people, like not just this group of people, but this group of people is attracted to Go. And that group is computer scientists, programmers and software engineers, mathematicians, numbers people, right? Because Go is so rich in that. And I think that kind of brain that likes that kind of computer science or math type of thinking is really attracted to the properties of Go, because Go is a visual abstract representation of true and false, binaries, and they have geometric properties, and it's very interesting. It's just a very pure and interesting mathematical toy, almost. You kind of think about John Conway's Game of Life. If you can try to Google that and play that for yourself, it's a fascinating thing where he creates a grid, and it's a program, right? It's a grid, and there are rules as to when squares light up and when they die off. And because of these simple rules, you can create a little arrangement and press play, and it'll just spark on its own and do its own random things. And there are these shapes you can try. Just like Go, you can create these specific shapes that create specific behaviors. There's one that shoots, there's one that stays still and shoots a little square across the screen. There's one that just keeps waving across from one end to the screen to the other. There are incredible things there, and that's like almost like a programmer's fidget spinner, right? It's like a toy for programmers finding these like interesting relationships between true and false values. And I mean, one of the biggest connections between Go and technology is AI itself. And we are encountering a sort of AI revolution right now. But we Go players were first. We were the first to break the biggest ground in AI through AlphaGo. When AlphaGo was first developed, that was revolutionary. It was not what we had seen before in terms of AI. AI before that really was just if this, then that, right? If you encounter this, then do that. And then your AI is just about as sophisticated as you spend time writing if statements. Whereas AlphaGo is a neural net, which means it learns. It actually reinforces certain thinking and creates conclusions. And you know that it's a powerful way to develop AI because it advanced past the capabilities of mankind, which is a little scary. And that was a very scary moment. But Go players, well, maybe not the Go players, but Go as a project or as a game was one of the battlegrounds, I guess the pioneering battleground for AI that kind of planted the seed. So I guess if AI takes over the world, then maybe it is Go's fault. Maybe it is the Emperor Yao, I think it was Yao, his fault, right? He started it all. He created the game, and it came to the computer programmers being obsessed with it and creating an AI, and then the AI takes over the world, and we're in a dystopia. But that's beside the point. The point is that Go is very, very much in a very good relationship with technology. And just to throw out a couple more things here, Atari, I guess it's video games, right? But clearly video games are made by computer programmers, and Atari, the video game company, named after the Go term Atari because the founder liked Go. And finally, who could forget QR codes, as I've mentioned in the past? The person who invented QR codes was inspired by his Go board because he saw how much information was stored on a simple Go board and saw the connection to make this super compact, very easy to use, and now universal, revolutionary technology to just quickly send information from a visual standpoint to a digital device. Very cool. So Go clearly has its fans in the technology world and has a link to technology. Technology, it just kind of like, I want to say technology is in the DNA of Go, but it's almost like Go is in the DNA of technology because Go came before all this stuff, all this computer programming stuff. Go is such a simple thing, right? It's just a set of rules, and it creates all this stuff. And that's really what computer science is, right? It's just a very small set of rules that starts everything off, and we keep developing past that. Which kind of makes me wonder, could Go also go through some kind of evolution like that, right? If you look at initial what do you call the code that's the guy who did Roller Coaster Tycoon, he did it in like basic, or I don't know, like it's just like the least abstract. I'm not a computer scientist, right? But the least abstract code, right, is just zeros and ones. And then, okay, so you obviously can't have computer scientists typing in zeros and ones all day. So what do? They abstract it to a point where it's like, okay, this set of zeros and ones you can call with this variable. This set of zeros and ones you can call with this term, and then even that language is too hands-on and too concrete. So you abstract that, and then you keep abstracting this until you get to the point where you can get to a natural language coding where somebody who's reading the thing can actually understand what you want. It's like, oh yeah, I want to light up when I say go, right? Computer's not understanding those words. Those words represent things underneath that continue on chaining down to the CPU, and then the CPU says, okay, yes, I understand this set of zeros and ones. Even zeros and ones themselves are not actually zeros and ones. They're just positive and negative charges inside the computer. Think about that. Where was I going with all this? What I was going with all this was that, okay, if you look at Go, it's like the Go is like zeros and ones, right? Basically every single point on the board is a 0 or a 1. Or maybe it's like a 0, 1, or 2 because there's a white and a black stone. I don't know. It's slightly different, right? It's like in a slightly different world. But can those be abstracted? Like, do we abstract them? Maybe we do. We call certain shapes knight's moves. We call certain shapes monkey jumps. So we start abstracting these things. And maybe as you advance as a Go player, you understand more and more, and you abstract more and more, so you can see past the zeros and ones, and you can see the matrix. There's another sci-fi reference there for you. Love that movie. One of my favorite movies, by the way. And then to tie it all together with the theme of sci-fi, we have to also look at space and the cosmos, right? Because the space is a very common setting for sci-fi things, right? Celestial bodies. And I mentioned Emperor Yao as one of the origin stories of Go, but the other one is that it was an astrological tool to map the movement of celestial bodies. And the word Tengen, the middle point of the board, actually means in Japanese heaven's origin, or the center of heaven. And as I've mentioned, star point, right? Star points, they're the little thicker dots on the board just to kind of orient us, but it kind of tells us a little bit about what ancient people thought of Go and how they saw the board and how it's connected to the cosmos and the movement of celestial bodies, how they saw 361 points and saw that that's the number of days in a year. Okay, -4, I guess. I don't know if they fudged the numbers or if they didn't understand. I don't know. But I mean, there are so many things. And then they have the four quadrants of the board, representing the 4 seasons. And then there is that amazing scene, one of my favorite scenes in Hikaru no Go, when he's kind of gaining Go independence from Sai and says that he wants to play his own Go, right? Hikaru no Go means Hikaru's Go. And the imagery they use is that he's like putting stars in space, and he says, I want to put things where I want to put them. And it describes the beauty and fun and magic of Go so well for me. And the fact that space is the backdrop, I think, is very, very fitting for that. And I'll leave you here in the space element of Go with this little tidbit that I learned while doing research for this episode. In 1996, NASA astronaut Daniel Berry and Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata became the first people to play Go in space, and they used a special Go set designed by Wai-Chung Wilson Chow. Both astronauts were awarded honorary Dan ranks by the Nihon King. Isn't that crazy? The Go was actually played in space. I would love to see a game record of that, if anybody has that. But the fact that they even thought to play Go in space is amazing. I'm wondering, because I know an astronaut typically means like Western astronauts, and then we actually have different terms for different knots. Like cosmonaut is Russian, and then there's, I forgot what the Chinese one is called, but is there not one for Japanese? I don't know. Like how many countries use the term astronaut? Anyway, there's a little sidetracked there, but amazing to play Go in space. So with all this in mind, right, clearly Go has its ties to science fiction, technology, space, and the cosmos. What would a new image of Go look like in your head? If you were to think of Go and maybe kind of, as cool as it is, kind of push aside the samurai image for a second and think about what sci-fi Go would look like, right? Because we have media for ancient Japanese Go, which is like Hikaru no Go, right? It kind of links to the past, with Sai being someone from the past, and that imagery is there, even though it is modern. And I think that's part of the appeal of Hikaru no Go, is because you see this kid and he's just in a normal place, but then you also have the context of the coolness of Go from the ancient world. But what would a sci-fi spin on Go look like? I imagine maybe what would be an interesting theme would be a world where we have cyborgs. We have people modifying their bodies with robotic, electronic technology, And you have integrated AI, right? First, you start with AI in your glasses. Then you start with AI in your contacts. Then you have like a little chip that you insert in your hand that allows you to scan credit cards. Then you start, at some point, putting stuff in your brain, or you have an earpiece. And then they start becoming more integrated, and you start having ChatGPT in your head, which sounds like a nightmare. But a lot of sci-fi is dystopian. And in that world, what if we have certain classes of human beings, and some of them have cyborg capabilities and some don't? And there's a question of like, well, who's playing Go? Are you allowed to play Go as a cyborg? Are you allowed to compete? How do you separate the groups of people? And can you turn that off? Can you turn off your cyborg capabilities to play? And if you can, well, is there a way to turn it on and cheat, right? We actually have stuff that mirrors our current society perfectly. We have people with earpieces going in to play tournaments and cheating. I just think that in itself has a lot of potential. I also this is more of a half-baked idea, but I wonder if a Go board's rules and patterns that you can find on a Go board could actually serve a practical purpose somehow, right? Maybe a Go board is a perfect way for a certain computer type to store information or transmit information or communicate, right? Because my question is like, what if Go could actually have a functional purpose, and these people who play Go are the ones that are consulted to tinker with this technology? I don't know. I'm just imagining things here. But I think my favorite idea, something that I often think about actually as a Go player, is if we made contact with aliens, if we made contact with another species from outer space, what would a game of Go look like with them, right? Could we teach them how to play Go? Or is that quote true, where Go's rules are so simple and yet complex that if aliens exist, surely they must play Go, right? Imagine we make contact and there's all this political struggle and we're trying to be peaceful, and everything we know about human history and making contact with people, we know it ends in violence, and we're so scared and we want to make sure this contact goes well. And along those deliberations, we find out we play this same game, this game of Go. And the aliens find out, and we realize, well, should we play with them? And it becomes this whole thing. It's like almost like a mirroring of the Cold War, but with aliens. And maybe the movie is called, or movie or book or series or whatever you have, Contact Move. I don't know. I tried to weave contact with Go term, contact move. I don't know. Or just contact. I don't know. Something like that. I always think about aliens and playing Go with them. I think that's just like really cool. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And I hope you enjoyed my walk through the the intersection. That's the word I was looking for. The intersection between Go and sci-fi. I've always been a sci-fi person over fantasy. I played StarCraft instead of Warcraft. I liked I just said StarCraft. I like Star Wars over, like Lord of the Rings. Although I like fantasy. I love Lord of the Rings. Don't get me wrong. I've actually been reading Harry Potter. But overall, my DNA is sci-fi. And I feel like, obviously you can have Go in fantasy worlds too, but I think Go kind of fits with the sci-fi theme, and chess definitely fits with the fantasy theme, with the medieval stuff and all, right? It's just almost like a match made in heaven. So I feel like that kind of pairing really works well. Like chess is a fantasy board game and Go is a sci-fi board game. I wonder if you guys think that makes sense, or if you agree or disagree. But it's time for the DDK Advice Corner, and the tip of the day is follow up with your threat. If you threaten something, typically like a peep or usually a peep, but not always a peep. If you're going to threaten something and then your opponent ignores that threat and then you also ignore that threat, then what was that threat to begin with, right? Make sure your threats count So if you threaten something and your opponent ignores it, you should probably do what you're threatening to do. At the very least, if your opponent ignores you and plays a different threat or something else and you want to respond to that, okay, you can maybe go respond to it. But if your opponent still ignores that first threat, go back to it. Keep it in your head, like ammo in your head. Sometimes you have multiple threats on the board. Once you get better at the game, you might have a couple, 2, 3 threats in mind, and they're chaining off of one another, and you have them all locked in your brain, and you're ready to play them, and you really want to get to play them, but you have a list of priorities. But to start off, if you're going to make a threat, make sure, it's not an empty threat. Make sure it's not an empty threat and actually follow up with your threat. Or make sure you make threats that actually have substance, because if you don't, you're going to be left with, oh man, they played a better move and I feel like if I follow up with this, it doesn't do anything. Then that was a bad threat. So, tip of the day was follow up with your threat. And now it's time for listener mail. Space writes, "Hi Justin, I'm a long-time listener since episode 4, first-time caller." Well, that's a veteran listener in my eyes. Episode 4 is pretty much the launch of the show. I love that you use this long-time listener, first-time caller. It brings me back to the days when I used to listen to talk radio. That's what they always say back then. I've been participating in Insong's 연구생 도장, the Internet Go School, for the past few months, and would be interested in writing in with a review of my experience. Is that something you would be looking for? I think it would be helpful to my fellow listeners, and based on some of the things you said on the podcast, I would recommend it to you personally. Nick Sabicki made a video on it, but I think there were some things he missed or could have gotten more into. Love the show. It's really helped me stay connected to the game, even when I don't have time to play. Keep it up. Space. Thank you for writing in and for offering a write-up or review of the 연구생 도장. I would be very interested in reading that. If it happens to be short, then I will read it in listener mail. If it's very lengthy, I have done in the past where if somebody writes a very lengthy listener mail, I even dedicate an episode to it, depending on the quality of the writing and whether I feel like that's or I could just kind of break it up into chunks. We'll see, but I would love to read it regardless. Thank you for offering. I look forward to hearing from you. Spooky, following up to a listener mail about KGS, I think it was last week, writes, I just found out that Richard Bozulich, the founder of Kaseto Publishing, died earlier this year. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Rest in peace, Richard Bozulich. He wrote a lot of great books and he did a lot of good stuff for the Go community. He got a good write-up in the British Go Journal, Spring 2026 edition. It seems like he was absolutely critical in translating Go educational materials into English and distributing them in the West. Nearly all of my Go books were published by Kaseto. Yeah, I mean, I can't even begin to understand how much work he put into all that, because all I know is that, like, yes, I see his name all over the books that I have, and I'm sure he did so much work. I'm really sad to hear of his passing. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. Thanks for letting the good people, and thank you for your support, Spooky. Clock writes, I think the more you play someone, the more you see the kind of ways they respond and or react to moves on the board. So as a result, you can start to build a psychological profile of your opponent. This is much easier at a local Go club because you can also pick up their body language. A move has been considered when they launch their hand into the bowl, but they're not confident in that move, so their hand remains in the bowl, or they start twiddling the stone, etc. You get more of a sense of the Go player in front of you. Yeah, that's something I wish I could experience more of. I have like a few opponents that I've kind of gotten able to get a feel for, but I don't attend a Go club regularly or anything like that. And I think that's a very interesting experience that I would like to have. On the reverse side, I think what's interesting about it is when someone learns you can actually surprise them, but with a different move that you usually don't play. Whereas you can't really surprise a new opponent. They're just going to say, like, I don't know what to expect from you. So when you do something weird, I'm just going to assume that's what you normally do. Whereas if somebody actually learns your moves and you do something weird, they're like, oh my goodness, that caught me off guard. I didn't expect you to do that. So I like that kind of mind game aspect of it. But more than that, you start to see what a player likes and dislikes and can play against that. For example, there is a 12Q at my club who I'd played 5 or 6 stones against. His fundamentals were really good, and he played the right big and mostly solid moves for balancing his influence and territory with handy stones. But over time, I realized that the best strategy against him was to create a complicated game with many critical points. I would prioritize a 4th line move that would split his stones into more groups over, say, a territorial move, meaning we both would end up with multiple groups to manage, but I was more confident making moves that build slowly than he was, and one of his groups might end up falling apart. I think part of that is also, I'm assuming you're giving the 12Q 5 or 6 stones. That's just my assumption based on what you're saying. I think part of it is also just playing handicap games. Like, you do have to complicate things regardless of your opponent in a handicap game where they have all these stones. It's always advantageous to make it complicated, because otherwise you're actually just going to lose. Because if you just play out the game as it looks, you lose. So you have to make things weird and complicated. Okay, one could argue that so exactly, so it's like I'm having a conversation with you because I said that, and now you're going to respond to that. Okay, one could argue that 5 to 6 stone handy games are naturally like this, because at first, players think that all 5 to 6 stones have to live, which is a fallacy, especially them mostly being 4th line stones. But I do think that if you get another player as B who's better at Sumego on the same board, you can't just rely on splitting them up. You might need to corner them into making inefficient eyes instead, while outlining a more efficient framework of stone placements for yourself in the process. So yeah, psychological strategy can apply to your games if you have played the person before or seen their games before, I think. Thanks for writing in. That was a lot of interesting stuff. What it kind of makes me think of is that although I like the psychological aspect of the game, and it is fun to think about how to play against your specific opponent and different strategies to employ, the thing is, I feel like, myself included, most Go players play the board as a neutral entity, and they just try to play the best move that they think is for any given Go board state. So there are two sides to it, but I feel like that psychological side of it doesn't come into play as often for most people, at least. But anyway, that was a very interesting comment. Thank you for writing in, Co-Clock. Finally, we have Sadaharu writing, I would find a game to be very boring if there's no Aji. Exploiting Aji is a very fun component of the game. Imagine having a random stone that you placed earlier being useful in a capturing race, or playing a Gote move that was actually Sente because of the Aji it exposed. Of course, it doesn't happen in every game, but it sure gives you a lot of satisfaction if you can manage to find it. That's something that strong players actually, I notice, they're the most comfortable with Aji. And I think you go through this phase, like, that bell curve meme where it's like you have the weak players on one end of the spectrum, you have the middle players who are like invested in the game and they're pretty good at it but not professional, and then you have the really strong players on the other side of it. And then in this, it would be a meme where the weak players would be like, oh, I leave Aji everywhere on the board, and then the strong players like, get rid of all the Aji, you need to like be secure in your groups. And then the really strong players, I leave Aji everywhere on the board. So I feel like that kind of rings true a little bit here. I need to learn how to use Aji more effectively. I feel like that's something I don't really know how to use, but I know it's happened before in my games, and there is that stone that just kind of, oh man, that stone was there, and it was just useful at the right moment at the right time, but it's rare. It's rare for me. Okay, the question of the week this week is, do you like this idea of Go being a sci-fi game, or do you still prefer that kind of Way of the Samurai, ancient Japan kind of aesthetic that you kind of associate normally with Go? Or do you have another image for Go that you would like to propose? If you want to share your thoughts, leave a comment, please, wherever you found this episode, or you can email me at starpointpaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. If you're a YouTube listener, I'll greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. A very, very special thank you to James B., Brandon S., Tristan, Jeff H., Tyraniton, Andrew P., and Spooky for supporting Starpoint. Thank you guys so much. If you want to support the show in any capacity, you can go to kofi.com/starpointpaduk, that's ko-fi, or check out the Starpoint store at store.starpointpaduk.com. And come on over to the Discord. You can find the link in the description. So this past weekend, I saw somebody parking very poorly. They were in an open parking lot, and they were closer to the intersection more than the space itself. And I forgave them because they were probably just a Go player. Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep playing Go.